I have what you'd call a reoccurring dream. I have this dream about once every couple of weeks, and I'd like to get some outside thoughts on it. I had it again just last night, and I thought that I should make it known. The dream always starts the same. This is the dream as of April 10, 2012. I'm on a band trip to some city that I've never heard of, and I'm riding on a commercial bus, sitting by a close friend of mine, which is unusual because I don't usually recognise faces in my dreams. Anyway, I digress. As the bus approaches its first destination, I can make out what appears to be some kind of theme park, and there's only one particular attraction that everyone on board is eager to get on. It's a walk-through attraction, you know, kind of like a haunted house, and the name each time is different. Now I know this dream sounds a bit overly vivid, but just wait, this is where things start getting weirder. As we all line up for the attraction, the man in the ticket booth says we won't all be able to go in at once, but in groups. Which made sense to me, but for some reason everyone else around me seemed confused. Anyway, I chose my group and we headed in when it was our turn. The man inside was dressed as a 1700s looking guy, and he was handing people electric light candles and warning them in an incredibly cheesy ghost voice. "Don't go in the shadows." He got to our group and looked me in the eyes, and immediately got a frightened expression on his face. He then proceeds to tell me the same thing he tells everything else, but only in a more convincing, distorted, off-sounding voice. Apparently, I'm the only one who picks up on this, since no one else seems to have noticed anything off. So, at this point, we're all walking through the darkened halls, and, just as you'd expect, there were actors, animatronics, and other creepy things popping in and out of view, which was pretty much as far as the light from the candle. However, one of the typical trolls in our group said in a joking voice, "I bet I could take out any one of you monsters." Then he pulled out a pair of night vision goggles, which, this being a dream, didn't surprise me much, and ran out into the darkness of the room. Now the part that somewhat confused me was the chaperone that was with us didn't really seem to care. He just stood there with a blank expression on his face. Suddenly, I hear him yell out, in what sounds like a mix of terror and pain. This time everyone heard it, because they all seemed to get frantic and worried the second it happened. Everyone, except the chaperone. He just stood there, staring into the direction that he ran off in with that blank, expressionless look in his eye. We waited for about 5 minutes before someone finally says that we should move on, and that it will probably show up later. We make our way to the exit rather quickly and head outside where the rest of the group is waiting for us. My band director frantically ran towards us and asked where the missing one had gone. I looked at him and I said, "I thought we would be with you." He ran off through the walkthrough and we lost him. I assumed that someone had escorted him out. Well, apparently I was wrong. Once we had finished, a man in a suit, who I assumed to be the manager of the park, came up to us and said that he's glad we're here and he would like to show us one of the work-in-progress attractions. We agree, and he leads us up to an enclosed building on the outskirts of the park. Inside the building, we were escorted into what looked almost like a ballroom. We all sat at tables while an overhead projector played what looked like a movie from the 50s. There was no sound though, and they weren't exactly movies as so much as movie clips. They were very strange. In one, a woman is being arrested and trying to reach back to her family and friends. But as the policeman turns her towards the jail, she begins to get a devious smile, and she begins to laugh, what looked like an insane, almost evil laugh. And for a split second, I can remember I saw that woman's eyes change colour. Each video was similar to this, the details of which I can't remember at the moment. Once the projector shut off, a man who looked like an electrical engineer walked in and said in a nervous voice, "Oh, we're sorry, we're having some technical difficulties at the moment. Please exit the way you came in." We followed his instructions and began to leave. Once we got to the main exit, the manager stood in front of the door and said,
"Leaving so soon? You haven't even seen the main event."
We were then escorted all the way back to the room we were just in, only this time the electrical worker wasn't there, nor were the tables, chairs, park stuff, projector. Nothing. It was just an empty room. As we filled the room, the manager gave us a friendly
"Goodbye,"
and slammed the door shut behind us. We waited for a few minutes, and finally, something happened. Now, this is where the nightmare begins. Something fell from the ceiling and hit the ground hard. Everyone gathered around to try and figure out what it was. Eventually, we realised the horrific truth. Some screamed, some vomited, and some just stared in disbelief. Sitting there, in front of us, was the corpse of the guy who had left our group. His neck was snapped all the way back, eyes gouged out, mouth bleeding heavily, limbs twisted in various directions. We waited a while in fear and mourning for our dead friend when suddenly chaos. All at once, the most disfigured, grotesque creatures you could ever imagine began leaping out of the walls and terrorising everyone inside. All I can remember is that most were humanoid, and they were about 3 times the size of a normal human. Okay, I think I should make this clear. You know how if you realise you're in a dream, and either you stop dreaming and wake up, or it becomes a lucid dream that you can control? Well, neither of these things happened for me. Once I realised it was a dream, or rather a nightmare, I kept dreaming, yet I couldn't move a single muscle. All I could do was watch as my friends were being terrorised. They weren't being harmed, just tormented. The dream usually just ends there. If it continues, I can never recall the events afterward. I seriously hope someone can help me figure out why these things are happening. Okay, April 11th, 2012. I had the dream again tonight, only this time, in a terrorising scene, one of the creatures landed directly in front of me. His disfigured eyes are locked with mine, as he says in an inhuman voice,
"You should not have told of our existence. Now your fate as well as theirs is sealed."
He grabbed me by the throat and made me watch as these things killed my friends. I watched as one had his eyes torn out slowly, and another one was being raped. I shut my eyes tight, and when I opened them, I was sitting in my bed. If you're reading this and I want you to forget everything you've read, I'm telling you these things are real, and I think they may be after me. Today I realised something. It's that these things don't want us to know they exist. And I'm willing to bet...
His theories are good, but he couldn't be more wrong. We want you to know us. We are all around you. You just can't see us when you're awake. We are your nightmares. And we are coming for you next.